there was this pressure to always be doing better every single session.
Yeah.
And that was something that truly destroyed my soul a little bit because it's so much pressure to put on yourself, especially for something as dynamic as surfing.
Yourself and what you do.
Of course. Yep. So my name's Becks and I own Honu Honi Surf Camp in Torquay. Yep. We run surf camps and surf lessons for adults, trying to get them involved in surfing.
Yeah. That's
it.
Epic. And how long have you been running?
We've had the surf camp for, I think we've just hit 4 years, maybe 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Oh, congrats.
Thank you.
2 weeks.
Yeah. So we had a little birthday party a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah. You had the little birthday, the cupcakes and stuff.
Yeah.
So
went for
cute.
a social surf and then fed everyone cake at 7
Was that
a.m.
at shows?
Yeah.
Was that, What a way to start.
Yeah, it was a great way to start the day. Everyone was like, I should do this all the time. I was like, I don't know if I can bring cake to the beach every single time, but yeah.
Totally. It's like, the surf is going to be, you need it like pre-surf.
Yeah.
And then get in and you'll be paddling for everything.
Yeah, got all the energy. That's it.
Was it good conditions too?
They were a little bit small.
Okay.
Yeah, but we try for our anything social, we try and have it be nice and calm so it's accessible to
all your levels.
Yeah, exactly. Like the most beginner person feels safe.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was maybe just a little bit not enough.
Yeah, so, but I mean, if Fishers is working, anywhere else
would be a little bit too
hectic.
Yeah. So it was the right choice still. It was just more social than
surf focused, which is awesome. And do you find that's with like Honu Honi? Is that, do you like abbreviate it to Honu or Honi or?
Kind of just Honu Honi. Yeah.
What does it mean?
So it's kind of a bastardization, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's a Hawaiian, and the very literal translation would be turtle kiss.
Oh, that's so cute.
I don't think that they would ever use it.
Yeah.
But it came from a trip to Hawaii. We were snorkeling off a boat, and the turtles are there, and you're not allowed to touch them, obviously, because they're protected.
You can just kiss them.
Just kiss them. No, I was kind of hanging. There was one that was close to me, and I was hanging, and I think it must have thought my hair was seaweed or something, because it came right up and just like swam into my forehead. Oh my God.
So you did touch it with your forehead? Or it touched you?
It touched me, but I because it came and got me, I kind of panicked and went like that, and then it dove because it got scared.
Wow.
But I took it as a blessing.
God, that's magical.
Yeah. So that's where the name comes from.
And like, were you in that moment, were you planning on starting your business or?
No, it was just something that kind of, I've always been obsessed with turtles. Like I always had little necklaces and knickknacks and stuff. And I just remember it being a really special moment. And when it was time to come up with a business name, I was kind of like, I just need something that like, I don't know, like just is different and not necessarily a name that's connected to anything that's already here.
Yeah.
So it's kind of playing with different Hawaiian words, because obviously that's also the birthplace of surfing. So it was kind of like, well, can we pay tribute to that in some way in what we're doing? And the two words together, to be honest, I'm not convinced that that's how they would even pronounce them.
Yeah.
How I've chosen to pronounce them, which is pretty terrible to do that. But yeah, that's why they were chosen.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess it's like a bastardization, as you said, and I guess it's that moment that meant so much, and that little thing, which is so special.
Yeah, it was
how
so
cool.
cute.
And when was that? Like, how long before you started?
That would have been good question. I reckon that would have been the start of 2015.
Okay.
Yeah. Which was right before I went and learned to surf.
Okay, amazing. I was going to say, is that the trip? Did you learn to surf there, or what was your introduction to surfing?
Tricky question.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Country Vic, far away from the ocean.
Yep.
And
where did you grow up?
Woodend is the name of the town.
Yeah.
So
I know Woodend.
Oh, do you?
Or not? I don't know it well, but I know of it.
I know vaguely where it is.
Yeah.
So no one in my family like even swims. We don't do beaches. Like that's just not how they are. But I always had this giant poster of it was Taylor Knox surfing down like a 50-foot wave somewhere.
So sick, yeah.
Ever since I was like 8 or 9, I reckon I picked that out at a little op shop somewhere and was like, this is mine.
Yeah.
And so I was humoured and got put into a lesson once when I was little, but I didn't properly learn until I was 25.
Okay.
And actually, I guess that trip in Hawaii was a bit of a pivot point. Where I hit 25 and we'd gone on this holiday with some of my friends had flown from Canada and Australia, and then my family was over in Hawaii with us as well.
Oh, wow.
It was lovely.
What a kismet holiday.
I know.
Kissing turtles, like family, friends. Oh, my Lord.
But to be honest, like I had this real moment in that holiday of just being like, I don't recognize anything in my life. Like I wouldn't have chosen any of it. We had this real, like I'd been with my partner at the time for 6 years and we owned a little apartment in the city.
Yep.
And our lives revolved around having like giant TVs and like he got a new car every year sort of thing. And like it was that sort of lifestyle. And I was just like, this is deeply unfulfilling and boring and kind of feels like it's in black and white. And I remember being on that holiday and just being like, nah.
We're doing it wrong.
It's
a no for me.
Just sitting at the pool, like, because we were at this stupidly fancy hotel, and I was just like, I just want to go and like see the actual world and do the things and like play, and because it was kind of that sense of like, oh, you wouldn't go and surf or anything like that because it's you ruin your nails or you'll
totally. And what were you doing for work at the time?
I was a personal trainer.
Okay, yeah. So you're in fitness and stuff. Yeah,
cool.
So it wasn't like you're working that corporate job.
No, thankfully.
Yeah, because I was like, oh, were you corporate? Because that would have been like huge. Cool. And what drew you to Hawaii, do you think?
I think it was more. Good question. I'd been before.
Okay.
Because my partner at the time was from Canada, so we used to do it as a stopover on the way back.
Yeah.
And I think it was my 25th birthday, and it was Dad. I can't remember what year it was, but it was one of his big birthdays as well, which is why it was kind of a joint.
Okay.
Everyone
hurrah!
Yeah.
And
I just remember being like, oh, that's just where I want to go. Like it's beautiful. I want to show you all
this magical place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that was all the thought that went into it. Really,
yeah.
It wasn't
it just you were just there. I guess led there.
Yeah,
that's so cool. And so you didn't surf that trip?
No.
Okay. And then what got you into surfing?
Do you know when I first met that partner, I actually had a surf trip planned.
Okay.
Like I was meant to go away for like
a learn to surf?
Yeah. Okay. I was meant to go away for 10 days and learn to surf.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a healthy relationship, just to like add on to the top of everything else not being good.
Totally. I think I lived in the city. I had an unhealthy relationship. Like it's they go hand in hand, don't they? Because I guess you're not living that authentic to you self. Life. You're kind of in that hustle and catching your tail a bit. Yeah. You're not actually stopping and being like,
what do I want?
What do I want? Yeah. And how do I want to like express myself, and what energy do I want to bring to the world and all of that. Yeah. So it goes hand in hand. Yeah.
That's nice to hear. Not just me.
No. It's a common theme amongst a lot of people I know. Unfortunately. I mean, it's really sad.
Yeah, that's true. It's sad that goes both ways.
If it's a red flag if like there's a big TV involved.
That's the thing.
It's like run.
I have to admit we don't have a TV in our new house, and I like we've
got a TV and I'm just like, oh, You've got the projector.
I've got a projector. Yeah, I don't know if that counts.
No, I feel like that's awesome because it's like
it goes like it's gone when it's not there,
and it's ritual
really like.
as well. Yeah. It's like, oh, we're gonna set this up, and which is awesome.
100%.
Yeah. Sorry. So go back. You had a surf trip planned.
Yeah, I had a surf trip planned because it was always something that was like, I really want to do this, and like no idea why. There's no influence or anything.
That poster.
Yeah, that poster. That was all it was. But he was incredibly like, no, you're going to go and meet a surfer and leave me, and so I never went.
Yeah. Wow.
And so I think when I decided all of this was, black and white, and I wanted to do the colour life.
Yeah,
and
I love
explore
that.
I think that was the first thing I did. I moved up to a surf camp and was just like, I'm staying here for 3 months.
So sick. Oh, so you really you didn't just dip your toe.
Nah,
you were like, this is what I want.
Yeah, actually, that's not true. I did go up a month earlier and travelled. I just drove the coast and travelled the whole way up.
Where was the surf camp?
It was in northern New South Wales.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think, what's it called?
Spot X. Oh, it's a Mojo Surf Camp.
Okay, yeah, because there's a lot of camping around there.
Yeah.
Isn't there? Yeah, I've camped nearby.
Yeah.
And I remember we drove through.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this little village? Yeah. This is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sick. Okay, so you're there for 3 months?
Yeah, well, it ended up being 5.
5.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I booked for 3 and stayed for 5.
So cool.
Yeah.
And did you learn to be an instructor while you were there?
Yeah.
So cool.
Good, but never got my calls while I was there. Just kind of dodgily assisted. And
yeah. I feel like that's, the surf industry, it's pretty chill. It's a lifestyle. It isn't, etiquette's one thing, but in the water, there's certainly rules, but out, it's
all
it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good. Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So you're there 5 months.
Yeah.
And then where did you go up from there?
From there, I went and moved up to Noosa for a year.
Oh, yeah. Noosa.
Which was so lush. But it was the first time in my life when I was leaving that camp, I was like, okay, well, I have to go do something with my life. I can't stay here permanently. Yeah. And it was the first time it was really like, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? So I was like, well, I love Noosa. I've been there on holidays and obsessed. So
I learned to surf at Noosa.
Amazing.
That was mine. Oh, there's nothing quite like it, is there? It's warm. The waves are stunning. It's so friendly. Turtles, lots of turtle kisses.
Yeah.
Bikinis.
So nice.
It's just,
so
how
lush.
epic. Okay, so you were there a year, did you say?
Yeah, a year, and then came back down here.
Yeah,
cool. And moved back to Melbourne actually for a few months. Yeah. Actually longer than a few months. It would have been over a year.
Yeah. Melbourne to Torquay is it's not like a trek, it's not. Yeah.
It was, I went and got a job at one of the big backpackers hostels in Melbourne because what I thought I originally wanted, we already had the business. Well, I say we, I mean I. Used to talking about the business in as if there's more than
100%. It's like, we here we did extremely well. It's just me.
Yeah. Same thing. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I already had the business name at this point. I had it as I was leaving the other surf camp because when I got there, I was like, this is what I want to do.
Awesome. So that was the moment that you're like, this is my life.
It.
Yeah.
And the reason I stayed a little bit longer was working there and things. But I very quickly was like, there's just so much that is not done as well as it could be, or in my vibe. It was very backpackers and drinks and that kind of real loose thing. And I was like, it has so much potential. To be this really amazing thing. But it's just not for me. It's not sustainable for me. So when I came back to Melbourne, I got this job at a backpackers hostel. And so I'd work there, and then on my days off, we'd do day trips down the Great Ocean Road. And so we'd stop at Torquay, do a surf lesson, and then go and, make our way all the way down to 12 Apostles and come back.
So it was almost, and I guess that's where the backpackers and the surfing has come together, because it's that tourism, right?
Yeah.
It's about the whole experience. It's not just about getting aboard, rocking up on the beach.
Yeah.
It's like the Great Ocean Road and 12 apostles.
Yeah, all of it. Yeah, for sure. And I guess because that was how I saw it done at Mojo, I just assumed that was the way forwards as well. But as we've grown over the years, it's I've kind of found that our backpackers market is maybe not the fit for what we're trying to create. It's a little bit more, I don't know what the right way. I don't want to say high end because that's a bit, but like it's just a bit calmer and more chill. Yeah. And I just find that
it's more retreat.
Yeah, retreat is more of,
it's like a holiday. It's like a fun holiday.
Yeah.
And it's like retreat.
I think sometimes I steer away from retreat too because it almost implies really like quiet, and we do still have like a lot of chaotic fun.
Yeah, it's still fun. Yeah, we can still talk to each other.
But I've found that we're not a fit for the backpackers market anymore, and but that's also me being like, no, I want to have like I want to have the locally made teas that are like really special and unique to the area and stuff like that. And like all those little details I think are so important. So maybe you're right, like that does sound like retreat to me now that I'm explaining it.
But, but I also like I understand that it's not so much retreat.
Yeah.
It's your own little category. Yeah. It's like I don't know the word.
I don't have one either, and I've been doing it for years. So
if I wake up in the middle of the night and think about it, I will send you an email. This is your word. This is what it is. It's like it's an experience, right?
Yeah,
more so than
100%. And like I guess more than anything else, I think experience actually is the perfect word, I think, because it's all about, hey, let's create this space for you, and we're really conscious about how we create this space that's gonna let you get from it what you want. So if you want to come and have a really fun weekend, we can facilitate that for you. If you want to like completely switch off from all phones, media,
black and white life.
Yeah. 100%.
Big TV life. Yeah.
It's so funny you say that though. Like there's so many people who come down and do like a weekend or week with us, and then they're like, I'm going to make this massive life decision. And you're like, yeah, right.
I'm moving to Torquay.
Oh, you get it a cuppa. Yeah, definitely. But I think sometimes like you get so used to just being in the churn of it that when you actually have a weekend that is piece, or even more so a week, you're just like, oh, actually maybe I don't want to go back there for some reason.
Totally.
I'm going to do something else. So.
And it's it's like that epiphany moment. And it's like, why can't I make this my life? Or why can't I make this my livelihood? And it's I think so many people like they're like, oh, I have to work to have this money. But it's like, why can't you join it? And it comes into, I guess, the perspective, right, of what do I want to put out into the world, as well as like how do I want to experience life, but also how do I want to like contribute towards the world and the community and all of that. 100%. So cool. And so the experience is so important, I think, in surfing because I mean, it's the reason why, like extremely well. It's that I think so many people have a certain view of what surfing looks like. I mean, even when I started, like I had a couple of awful experience. I mean, I went from Noosa. Amazing waves, friendly. The experience was incredible. And then I remember first surfing, it was down here in Torquay. And I was with a group of people that didn't really know what they were doing. Paddled out at Juck, and it would have been like 2-3 foot day. And I had no idea what I was doing. Like baby waves in Noosa. I was like, oh, this is the best sport ever. And then I came down here and it was cold. And it was wild. It was terrifying.
Completely different.
And I got held down a couple of times, and it just it traumatized me to the point that even when I surf now, compared to all my other sports I do, I'm a lot more like just want to get it, just want to go for it, just want to send it, I guess. I hate that word, send it, but it's like that it's like that pitbull energy, just want to get after it. Where surfing, I'm really tentative. And I think growing up in Australia at the beach, a lot of people have those experiences with waves as well. And it's like, just go, and surfing is the conditions, reading the water is so important.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know what you're getting into, it gets dangerous real quick.
100%. It's the reason we actually don't offer single lessons in the way that we do it now, which is the common model, right? Like the common model for surf schools is you book a lesson or maybe like a 3-pack, but it's a repeat of the same lesson. Yeah. It's standing up in the whitewash you play and it's so fun.
Yeah.
But it doesn't teach you all those things that you just said.
Yeah,
and so it was a really conscious choice to run like the minimum that you can do with us is a weekend.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like we've had moments where I've scrapped them because I've been like, it's actually not enough time to safely teach everything we want them. But it's also then our most popular one. And I was like, okay, well, I can't, I can't get rid of people. But now our most popular thing that we run now is a 6-week program, which is exactly that. Like I get 6 weeks with them once a week for 6 weeks, not living with us for 6 weeks, where we get to grow them and make sure that their skill set is not just, you can kind of stand up on a wave. It's like I can choose a safe spot for myself to go surfing. And realistically, like for our complete beginners, our goal by the end of the 6 weeks is that they can safely go out into the water by themselves and be like, feel safe, feel confident enough to at least know, if something's up or incorrect. Because that's the thing, like you don't know what you don't know. And I think there's so many beginners, like you said, that you're like, this looks great. Like that's fine. And you don't actually know to assess what is safe and what's not.
Yeah. And I think with anything, intuition, it's like it is so important in keeping you safe, knowing what waves you want to go for. And like surfing is there's so much intuition, there's so much feeling. And if you're disconnected and trying to force it, it's not fun.
Yeah.
You get taught a lesson pretty quick.
Yes. Usually with a group of other people.
Yep, totally. But intuition is so important. And how do you teach that? Or how do you teach people intuition? Because for example, if they're coming from that black and white life or that go life, it's likely that they're not tapped into their intuition.
Yeah.
And then I guess you've got them in the water. I guess what are ways that you cultivate that?
Use different words actually. So the framework that we put around them is there are different ways to achieve your goals in surfing. The terminology we use in ours is pressure versus pleasure.
Yep.
So we go, you can do it from a pressure point of view, which is the way that surfing's traditionally been taught, which is, you want to surf? Here's a little board, have a shot. Yeah, off you go. Get smashed around, that's part of learning. Yeah. Like, that's it. The problem with that is for a lot of people, especially if their nervous system is already super geared from, work, life, all those things.
Yeah.
It makes surfing that really terrifying experience. Yes.
Yeah, that was me.
It's so common.
Yeah.
And I had that too. I went through a year of being absolutely terrified of like little 1/2-foot waves because
100%.
I just put so much pressure on myself to, be doing bigger and better every time and just eating shit and hurting myself.
And sometimes it's not the wave, it's other people and it's the water moving.
All the things.
It's all the things.
All the things.
Yeah.
So the very first session we kind of do, especially for our more intermediate surfers, is to say like that's a legitimate way to learn if that is your personality type, if your nervous system is responding to that, that is fine.
Yeah.
But
there is another way.
There's another way. And that's the pleasure aspect. And that is, how can we make this as fun as possible? Because if you coming surfing is as fun as it possibly can be for you, it means that you're going to be keen to come and do it again.
Yeah.
And if you're keen to go and do it again and you kind of do it a little bit more often, your fitness is going to grow. And as your fitness grows, your confidence kind of grows.
Yep.
And as your fitness and confidence grows, you can have a little bit more fun because you can do a little bit more.
Totally.
And it has that really nice upward cycle sort of thing because then you go more, you get better, you enjoy it more, you go more.
Totally.
It's
which is so important. And that nervous system is so important. Even myself, like I find myself, my nervous system, like where I am in the time of the month, for example, if like I'm coming into my luteal phase, I'm coming into my bleed or bleeding, my nervous system, my resilience is so down.
Yeah.
And I have to be aware of that before I get in the water, right?
100%.
And when I'm not, like I just need to get in, just want to have a surf. Like I only have a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
That's when I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Like I see this big set coming and I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? Or I wipe out on a wave or something happens, a board hits me or something, you know.
Yeah.
Or you have a little bit of a, you know, with someone in the water and you're like, oh my God, and you're just rattled.
Yeah.
And, you know, like for myself, I do struggle with surfing to keep, and it's that nervous system.
100%.
It's keeping it fun, keeping it lighthearted, nurturing that.
And relaxing it.
And relaxing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's meant to be on, right? Like you are, there's a reason that it switches on in the surf because it's scanning for dangers and it's scanning to keep you safe and to try and stop you from getting smashed by a wave. So it makes sense, but it's such a common thing that we do lose sight then of the playful aspect of it. So we frame it like that for people because just kind of saying it out loud and giving them options means that they can naturally tune into like, oh, well, I know this pressure one doesn't work for me, so let me make it about fun. The other thing we do is we explain cycles too.
Awesome.
So we talk about performance hormones like testosterone, and then we talk about estrogen, progesterone and how they cycle. And so we're like, okay, you know, these things affect this in a really real way.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to check in day by day how you're actually feeling. And what that means is even if they don't use words like intuition and stuff like that, it means I can walk up to one of my students in like week 3 or 4 and be like, hey, like, how are you doing today?
Yeah.
And they'll be like, you know what, like I'm just, I don't know, like I'm in my body, I'm not feeling right. So I'm going to just hang out in the whitewash and have a bit of a play.
Is that when you turn around and say, are you day 22?
I don't ask them on days. If they volunteer the information.
Assuming if they're bleeding,
if
they have a cycle,
but no, I'll just like, yeah, sure. And so we just find things to work on there because I think
that's awesome.
There's also that pressure of, or at least when I learned, there was this pressure to always be doing better every single session.
Yeah.
And that was something that truly destroyed my soul a little bit because it's so much pressure to put on yourself, especially for something as dynamic as surfing. Yeah. Where like
so much is going on.
And so much of how you're doing, it's not just like, you know, how well you slept, how well you ate, where you are in your cycle, you know, how stressed you are, all of those things. It's also like what the waves are doing, what the wind is doing. Like it's just a chaotic amount of things that you cannot control.
Yeah.
And so I think it's we the whole approach that we take is like, let's work with you where you are today, and it doesn't matter where that is today in comparison to another day.
Totally. Yeah. And it's nice that you take it week by week.
Yeah.
And it's also, you know, I think you were saying before that you don't do that one day surf because imagine, you know, you have that, you give something a go that one time.
Yeah.
And it, even if you are nurtured into it, you know, it isn't that pressure.
Yeah.
You know, it is pleasure.
Yeah.
But if you're not feeling yourself, if you're not, like you may not have the best experience just because of what's going on.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, so it's awesome that you do offer that 6-week program to, it's like next week's a new week.
Yeah.
And you can focus on so many different things and so many different parts.
Yeah.
And so many people would walk away being like, oh, what a journey, you know, because like so much can happen in 6 weeks.
So much. They're amazing what they achieve in 6 weeks. And I think it might be a little bit nicer for like all our beautiful guests as well, in that because we get them for 6 weeks, it means that when they have a bad week, they know that I know that it's a bad week.
Yeah.
You know, like they don't have to prove anything and they don't have to they don't feel like they have to perform at a different level because they know I saw them like kill it last week.
Yeah.
So it doesn't,
you got this.
Yeah.
I saw that.
And that's the thing. Like they'll come like, I can't do it. I'm like, hey, no, like you can do it because we both know you did it, you know, a week ago.
Yeah.
It's just not today.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like,
you
know,
and I think
that's okay.
And I think like you are teaching people so much more than how to surf. It's you are teaching like how to sit in your nervous system and manage those expectations and just like be kind to yourself 100%. As well. It's like you're kind of like parenting. Like we do inner child work here as well, people.
Maybe we should start putting that on the posters.
Heal your inner child with Becks in the water.
I think it's really interesting, especially that hormones chat.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how many people come back and they're just like, that was the one, like that was or they're like, that's just blown my mind. Yeah. And like made my whole life make sense. Yeah. Sort of thing. And like men and women, like some of them will be like, that just, now I understand why my partner does what my partner does. And you're like, yeah, it's.
And especially because, you know, it's like so many, like it'd be interesting to know like your perspective and what you find, but there are so many couples that surf together. Yeah. And learn to surf together. Yeah. Or the male partner, the masculine partner usually is the one that like, yeah, surf, let's go. Pressure, background, right? And then, or they grew up with their family or something and then they meet a partner and it's like, hey, let's go surf. Yeah. And oh God. Oh my Lord. Your partner's not like, now what day are we? Where are we at in our cycle? It's like there's that level of frustration, right?
Yeah. They learn in a really different way.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. It's like person to person. It's so different. Yeah. You know, me and a lot of my friends have had partners try to teach us to surf, and
so many relationships broken up over surfing.
I can see it. I mean, even like Trav and I, you know, it's like we go out in the surf sometimes and there was this one time and this was like earlier on in, like I was surfing a little bit, like I kind of knew how to surf before we met. And then when we met, we met in the surf actually, but we went, you know, we kind of organically grew through surfing through like a group of friends and stuff. And there were times that we went out surfing and he would be like, yep, your wave, like go. And I'd be like, I'm not feeling it, you know, but I'd still go for it. Yeah. And it was like that conflict within myself. Yeah. And I was like, no, like that wasn't right. Yeah. You know, like
I didn't want that one.
I didn't want that one. It didn't feel right. I was rushed. You know, and it's like those moments. And I remember once I just turned around and I was like, no, that is not it. I was like, can you shut the fuck up, please? And I think everyone else was like, oh my God, in the water. I was like, you don't know what's best for me.
I can't even count the number of fights I've had with ex-boyfriends on the beach about surfing. It's really stressful.
It is
when you have someone who doesn't get it.
Yeah.
And when you have someone who's really
all right, and it's so hard because the place is coming from like they want you to have the best experience.
100%.
But it is that,
and they just don't understand why.
No, and I guess there is that level of overriding the intuition of the person learning, right? It's like that fixing energy that comes into it, and it's like I know best, so you need to follow this rather than like, I guess, like whoever you're teaching or you, if someone's teaching you, like you leading your session. Yeah. Like you can have that person that's your mentor. Yeah. And teaching you, you know, little tricks and stuff, but you have to have a lot of trust in them. But yeah, it's like you ultimately
get to decide.
You're your boss, you're your leader. Like 100%. This is about you learning.
And I think that's the whole thing, right? Is when I say that we meet people where they are, it's like, okay, cool. Like if you're staying in the whitewash today, what do you want to work on? Like we're not going to force you out of it if that's not feeling good for your nervous system, because the most important thing we can do is make sure that you feel safe and comfortable here. Yeah. And then we just build from there. And I think it can be really hard, hard for people whose nervous system isn't that wired that way.
Yeah.
Because surfing has traditionally been done from that pressure place, and a lot of people have learnt that way. It can be really hard for them to comprehend, because to them it looks like going backwards, or like, something like that. And it's like, no, this is okay too. We're still making progress. We're just like, we're focusing on nurturing this different bit that is not visible.
Yeah. Which like, when they are out on their own, like, it's so cool that you teach people not like how to surf, but it's like, how do you hold space for yourself when you're having a bad day and you're in the water? Yeah. And it's like, and hopefully they're like, hear like Becky's voice, like.
I have been told some of them do.
Oh, that's so cute. That's amazing. I think I've actually been surfing with Vanessa, and she's like I heard Beck's voice, and I was like, oh my God, I love it. It's so good. But like, you kind of stay with people throughout their.
Hopefully it's not too annoying.
No.
It's not just me going, paddle. I am. They do get a bit of that still.
Yeah, totally.
Go.
I mean, that's like, it's not a surfing lesson without being told to paddle, right? It's like when that paddle fitness, it's like, oh God, I'm trying as hard as I can. When I go to urban surf, and there's like usually the guide in the water, and he's like, paddle. And once I'm like, I am as hard as I can. This thing is sucking me back.
I am trying.
How do you go teaching your lessons, and like, because the industry and the nature in the water is still that masculine. There's that pressure. There's like, I mean, surfing is timing, right? Like, that wave is coming, and it's kind of like everything has to roll and work. And then you've got etiquette that comes into it. Yeah. How do you teach that, and like, I guess, keep your nurturing pleasure focus?
I think the easiest, like, I guess a part of it is really practical. Like, we've got videos, and they get sand diagrams explaining, peaks a wave and who has right of way and stuff like that for the actual practical element. But in terms of keeping it nurturing, it's then a matter of when they do it, I cheer for them. Like, I don't just cheer for their waves. I cheer for, like, every time they stop their board correctly when they were going to hit someone or something, I'm like, that was awesome, well done. Yeah. Like, it's just that consistent reinforcement. And if they miss the mark, like, and even when I teach etiquette, I remind them that everyone learnt. Yeah. And everyone gets in the way. You can't be perfect with your etiquette. You can't be perfect with any of it. Like, it's just all about doing your best. Try and hold on to your board. Try and, like, be safe out there and watch for other people and all those things.
As best as you can.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, if you accidentally run into someone, or someone accidentally runs into you, apologise if it's your fault. As long as there's no injuries. Totally. You can check on your boards. But at the end of the day, like, I kind of frame it for them, and if one of us accidentally was hit by someone who was learning and they apologize, the normal human response would be like, no, that's okay. Right. Okay. That's fine. Anything outside of that is on that other person. Yeah. And so I just frame it for them like that. I'm like, look, if you get yelled at, that's got nothing to do with you. Like, no one, because that's the most common thing, right? Like, totally. People get really scared about surf etiquette because of some idiot who has decided to yell at them. Yeah. And as a learner,
who's under so much pressure, who's pressuring themselves, pressuring other people. He has no pleasure out there. He's there to get a job done.
Yeah. He wants every wave. But that's the thing, like, because you're learning, or when you're in some of your early stages, or even when you're not, like, even now sometimes, if you have someone yell at you, you question yourself and you think that you don't know enough, or you think you're not good enough to be out there. And it's not the case at all. Like, it's not the case at all, full stop, but just sometimes there's people that yell like they were the ones that were in the wrong. And 100%. You're just like, but the worst one we've had was someone did it to one of our, like, someone that was on a lesson, was in the wrong, ran straight into her and then gave her an earful. But I was filming it, and so I had the whole thing on tape, and I was just like,
yes.
I was just like, I don't like. I was just trying to explain to her. Like, she was like, I'm so sorry. I was like, you didn't actually do anything wrong. Like you were fine, but it was really hard for her to comprehend that she hadn't actually done something wrong
because she was yelled at.
And she just assumed like that she was, because she was still learning it.
And it's that confidence piece.
Yeah,
it's. You know,
and he knew as well. Like I paddled straight out to chat to him, and he I was like, "Hi, like I just wanted to check you're okay first of all," and he was like, and then like just turned and caught a wave and got out, and I was like, "Yeah, that's what I thought."
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah,
came back.
It's so funny that it's like that yelling in the water. It's
so unnecessarily aggressive.
It's actually crazy. It's sort of unlike any other sport, really. Yeah. It is like, the mood in the water can change so quickly and from day to day.
Yeah.
And it's there is no consistency in surfing.
No.
And I think even the mood out in the lineup, depending where you are, and then even then it can really fluctuate.
Yeah.
Depending on what's happened before you, the conditions and all of that.
Everything.
But yeah, it's a really hard part of learning, but I guess it is learning part of that.
Yeah.
And that's so cool though that you were like, yeah, you're in the wrong.
I guess there's no point with us. Well, from my perspective, there's no point in shying away from it in a lesson perspective, because it's kind of like, well,
it's part of it.
It's part of it. Like I don't.
And when you're not there after the 6 weeks or the weekend, it's like, like
all of a sudden you have to deal. Yeah.
And it's one of, I think, confidence in the water is knowing the rules out there and knowing, you know, like where to sit and who has right of way and where you need to be looking. You know, it's so important. And like coming back to nervous system regulation, when you get yelled at, your nervous system
goes nuts.
Like, it's like, oh my God, you know, and it's part of that as well.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on etiquette? Like, do you see, because I've done some reading and I've listened to some stuff about, you know, like people's views on the current rules and current etiquette, because it's like whoever's up the wave, whoever is further out, whoever's on the wave first, that naturally doesn't cater for a fair go for everyone.
Yeah, that's true.
As well, it is kind of that fitter person. That usually the more confident person,
the longer board.
Yeah. You saw the glider when you walked in through the hallway. That thing
I am also on the longer board. Yeah.
Totally. It's a battle. It's like a big dick swinging competition for boards, right? It's like when you go to roadie and there's like a glider out, you're like, oh, I'm not getting any waves today.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, that pressure sometimes that's in the water, that person that may be the one yelling may also be the person that is just lapping, you know, and that you are, you know, technically you're meant to jump in line, but it doesn't
go that way.
It doesn't go that way.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm just interested in your thoughts around that. Like what, I guess from your experience and what you've seen, especially from like that learner perspective.
Yeah.
It's because it doesn't, like, it's hard to learn, I guess.
Yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
that pecking order.
I think I've never given much thought to whether the rules could be better or not. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But maybe.
Well, there's your homework.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
What I do is, I guess, in the way we teach it, we try to incorporate those things. So like when we're talking about surf etiquette, I actually include board choice as part of surf etiquette.
Yeah,
because I'm like, there's no point going out to Point Impossible on a shortboard. Like you're just not going to catch anything.
Oh, the poor shortboarders. Whenever I go out, I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm ruining your day.
So there's like, and that's the thing, like it's kind of like board choice in terms of who's there. That's part of it. Like that's kind of how we teach it, which doesn't make it right. Like you're right, it's still not fair, but it doesn't. Yeah, I guess that's just how we accommodate that.
Totally. I mean, you're not going to change the rules. No. Like it's, I mean,
competition.
Yeah, totally. It's like those rules are. Yeah, they've been there for a long time.
And I think the other thing that we incorporate a lot about, and like most of what we talk about in surf etiquette, is communicating and And actually, like when I'm teaching surf etiquette, it's not even just about the, this is the rule, but it's also like, how do we address it when someone's being shit?
Yeah.
Basically. And giving them tools to do that. And the one that I try not to do and cue people up, but that I experience myself a lot is men in particular snaking me because they assume I'm going to miss a wave as I'm paddling for it. I try not to ever mention that in our classes because I never want to put that in someone's head.
Yeah. Totally.
As a starting point. But what I'll do is be like, if someone is snaking you, if they're going around, like, do you know the best thing you can do? And I hate it. I will say that I hate it, but because I want to just be my own little world when I'm surfing.
Totally,
but I will put on the most bubbly, happy persona and chat and be like, oh my goodness, that was such a good wave. Like that was so, how long have you been out for? How have the waves been? And be really, really overly friendly to that person. Let them take a couple more and then be like, oh, this is my wave.
Yes.
And then claim it. And so it's not being done in an aggressive way or like even because I find even if you just call people out, not in an aggressive way, but you're just like, hey, like
can I have a wave?
Yeah. They might not respond super well to that still, which is a bit of you're kind of like, oh, come on, man.
Well, then like what's the point of calling it out?
Yeah.
Because it's ultimately you want that wave.
Yeah. So I've found that being sickly sweet and having to put that on, but and just being super chatty is the best way because it's really hard for them to be dicks when you've just been really lovely to them.
Totally. So. And I think that like even in that situation, I even outside of that situation, like just being sweet in the lineup,
that helps.
It completely shifts your experience as well because you're like, no, like and it goes back into like being conscious about what energy you're putting out into the world, how you're showing up, you know, and it's like I want to show up and I want to be like I want to be loving, I want to be fun, I want to be nurturing and celebrate the other person, you know, and it's so important.
Yeah.
And I think even in those situations, it's bringing that feminine, that feminine energy into the lineup, which I think is so needed. And I think it's like, hey, let's have fun. Let's share. Yeah. Like we're in this together.
Let's work as a team.
So that we all have fun and let's like root each other on because, and I think that's with like so many women, or women, anyone getting into surfing, beginners. It's like bringing that energy into the lineup, is so important.
And I think that's a powerful tool when you realize that you can actually impact the vibe that's out there. Totally, you really feel it, and when it's unfriendly, it's unpleasant. But if you're willing to, be a bit chatty, you can actually change that tone pretty quickly because most
100%.
Most people are pretty friendly once you get them going.
And even then it's like sometimes it just takes that bubbly person for you to like people to snap out of their mood and be like, it's like a smile goes such a long way.
100%.
And having fun and people don't want to take your fun away. Like if you've got that big grin and you get a good wave and, they're like, oh my God, like that's so awesome.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important. And I think that's like any sport, right?
Yeah.
And anything in life, like if you show up, you can either show up and fit in to that mood or fit into that lineup mentality.
Yeah.
Or
you can bring the vibe.
Yeah. Totally. And it goes from like that victim to like you hold the power then.
Yeah.
And it's like you're going to surf how you want to surf.
Yeah.
Like if you want to be competitive, like you can be competitive, but you can also like do it in a fun way.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
Yeah, totally. and it's, because I've been in situations in the lineup and people are going for it and I think a lot of people are like, like you're going for it too. Like you're giving it a crack, especially when it's a super fat day.
Yeah.
And like no one's really getting on waves, but everyone's going for
everyone.
Them. Everyone. It's like whoever gets on it, it's like, yes, like someone got one.
Yeah.
And then, like often you get that person that's sitting real deep and is like, kind of snaking around you and they're like, this is yours. Like you got it, Like I've had awesome experiences where people are like, oh, this is your wave. Like I'll take the next one.
Yeah.
Or even like I often like when I see someone learning and like maybe they've like got in my way, or they've like dropped in on me on the wave before, and I then go, okay, well, this is your wave.
Yeah.
Go for it. Like,
Yeah,
I'll get the
100%.
next one, because then it's like, again, it's that communication.
Yeah.
It's like, you've got it.
Yeah. And you've shown me that kindness, so I show it in return. Like, it's
100%.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like when you're learning, and so like, because so many times when people do drop in on you, it's because they're learning.
Yeah.
And like they haven't learned to look.
Yeah.
Quite
they just
yet.
don't know. Yeah.
And so it's like, you know, I guess that's when you have that chat as well. Yeah. And like you learn, and you're working as a team with someone else out there.
Yeah.
Rather than being like, that was my wave.
Yeah.
Like, look, you know, unless it's like the only time I have gone frustrated, like one time in the water.
You're allowed to get frustrated. That's still okay.
Oh yeah, but I was a little bit like sassy. I can get a bit fiery sometimes. But I think it's because it wasn't someone that was necessarily learning. It's like they knew.
Yeah.
And they didn't think I was going to get on the wave. And I was like, don't underestimate these little guns, you know? Like, yeah, it's yeah. And I think that's when I'm like, hey, like,
which is
I'm
fair.
here, you know?
Yeah, which is super fair.
Totally.
Yeah.
You're allowed to stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can do that.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's been times where there's been some disagreements, or like there's been close calls.
Yeah.
And I've sort of been like, oh, look, I'm not sure who was in the wrong.
Yeah.
Like, and I've said, like, it's not for a tit for tat.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to know for my learning, you know, especially at Torquay Point, it can get crazy out there.
Yeah.
When I'm like, look, like I felt like I was in the right here. Like, it's like a conversation.
Yeah.
It's like conflict, right? It's like two people having a conversation together.
Yeah.
And you both learn and you talk, and it's like, you know, obviously the first thing you do is, are you all good?
Yeah.
And then it's like, so I don't know what happened. Like, I thought I had right of way, and then I guess like hearing what the other person says as well can help both of you learn as well.
I guess you just have to hope the other person's coming in good faith in that case.
100%.
But yes, it's totally. Like, I think the surfing community, like it's such a funny one, because you do have these experiences that are really stressful, or where people yell and you're like, it's so weird. But then the flip side of it is like the most beautiful, supportive
100%.
community. And it's so funny when you talk about it, because like you kind of remember both. I was going to say you remember more the bad ones, but that's not true. I feel like you definitely feel the good ones too.
Totally.
But like I think people get really scared about the bad ones.
Yeah.
And they get really nervous around that.
Yeah.
But honestly, like the community can be amazing. Like I just think of like all the students that we've had out that, you know, long-time local surfers would have had every right to be like kind of grumpy about where we were or anything like that. And they've just like with open arms been like, you guys are doing great. And they'll like cheer them on their waves and stuff like that. Oh,
that's so epic. So rewarding. And I think too, it's like, you know, with Honu Honi, like you are teaching people to not be shitheads. Out there,
we're trying
as well. Yeah, trying. Not 99% success rate.
Actually, no. To be fair, like we have the most beautiful community, and all of them are actually incredible humans who are really, they actually really try.
Kind.
Yeah, absolutely, which is so lovely.
Anyone I've met that's done your course, or like, I'm like, oh, you're like a warm hug to the soul. You know, they're all like that. Yeah, it's so cool. I mean, it's because you're like that. I feel like it's like an extension of you, right? Totally. But it's like it's so cool, because then like these people are learning, and you're putting that into the lineup, and you're putting that into, you know, like it's so cool that like, and I guess like when we were talking about etiquette and the rules and this and that, you're like, I haven't really thought about it.
Yeah.
But I guess you are also teaching people like how to show up in the lineup, which is changing the community and the lineup out there, and learning from one another as well.
It's certainly made it heaps friendlier even for our students, in the sense that like it's not unusual for us to say take our Saturday class down. Like this last Saturday when I took a class down to Point Addis, I think out of there would have been 12 surfers in the water. 6 of them were past students. Oh, you know,
so epic.
Yeah, and so it was kind of like, well, you know, go out there, but like also just know that all like more than half these people, they're going to be really chill with whatever you're doing.
Totally.
And
like they were you once upon a time.
Like not that long ago.
Yeah.
And it's really lovely to have that, because it's more and more wherever we go, we usually run into one or two other people, and like
that's so fun.
Yeah, it's so fun. And then they get to know each other as well, like with our social surfs where they get to all co-mingle and do all the things together across different levels and stuff like that. And it's a joy to see. Then, later we'll be like, oh, there's like 3 people out surfing who have all done a course, but they all did different courses, and they all did like different levels, but they're all surfing together now. And it's just
because it's like you may not start at the same level, but like I guess when you move through,
once you can get into the unbroken waves,
it's kind of it's for everyone, isn't it? Yeah, that's so cool. And because you do a lot of like social nights and stuff as well, like with the community, like you're really building a community.
That's, I mean, to be honest, actually, the focus of Honu Honi is community. So that's actually its core goal more than anything else. And when I sat down to kind of put together what we were going to do, the thought was, well, where are my communities? Like where do I lean to find my sense of community? And I was like, oh, the 4 things are surfing, yoga, food, and music. That's where we get that.
Cool.
And so then our services were built out of that. So it was always about building community. It was just let's use surfing as a vehicle for that. Let's use yoga as a vehicle for that. And that's where it's kind of come around like that.
That's so cool. I mean that's awesome, because it's then people are also have those hobbies and they're connecting through those other spaces as well.
Yeah.
Which is awesome, because I think that all those things, like everyone's hungry after a surf.
Always. And I think there's nothing, I mean, the food one is especially for me, but I think there's nothing nicer than sitting down and having meals with people. Like that's that real, like.
It's everything.
Yeah.
It's just like that Indian night we had at yours. I actually can't eat Indian food now without thinking about, I'm like, oh, that was so good.
That's so lovely.
Yeah. It's like there's something so impactful with like sharing
I think
a
so
table
too.
with others.
And that's why the camps were built, because obviously we can have food as part of that.
Yeah.
But even the 6-week programs, they just buy lessons.
Yeah.
And what they don't know is, I mean, they don't know that they get all the social things included.
It just pops up. And they're like, oh, sick.
Yeah, week 1, I'm like, okay, here's your social calendar. Come along.
That's so epic.
But every program also gets a celebration dinner at the end of their 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
They can all come together and actually chat outside the water, meet people from other groups that just did their cohort.
Yeah. And then they can surf together as well.
They can surf together.
And instead of going out just them by themselves, it's like having a buddy
100%
can be so valuable.
And that's the thing, like people, when they leave reviews for our programs and stuff like that, they're always like, oh, it's the community, it's the community. And I'm like, it's so lovely, because obviously that's what we're working towards. There's a part of my brain that's also like, it's nothing that we actually to teach or do in the lessons.
It's like you guys. Yeah.
You like hanging out with each other.
Totally.
But I guess we facilitate that, so that counts.
Yeah, you're like the 100%. And I think like it's the same with Extremely Well. It's like, how do we make this community? And it's like, how do you cultivate that?
Yeah.
And how do you like put that forwards? Because sometimes people just need the vessel, or they just need the place, or they just need even the subject, and to be like heard. And like they align with you. Yeah. And if you have multiple people aligning, then it's like, yes, let's all like be one big community. Yeah. And it's friendships form and everything flows and everything multiplies. Yeah. And it's like you can't measure the reach that you have with people because of that on-flow effect.
Absolutely. And it's amazing when you do get glimpses of it, because you're right, you can't measure it.
Yeah.
But every now and then you get like a little glimpse of it in even like a booking, and like someone random comes in and you're like, oh, like how'd you hear about us? And they're like, oh, through like, and you're like, oh, that was a massive line of getting to you.
Totally.
But that's amazing. And like so good.
That's so cool. Yeah. And do you find like most people that come to you are word of mouth?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like I'm just trying to think. A lot of our guests will do repeat programs with us, which is a huge blessing.
That's awesome, yeah.
Like any given 6-week block is taken up by like 30 to 50% past guests, which is huge.
Yeah.
And then the next chunk are friends, family,
cool,
random. got someone in our current program who their nurse wouldn't stop raving to them about us, and so she came along.
Oh my God. Yeah. Were they like, why were they in hospital?
I don't know. I didn't ask.
My God, I'm so curious. Like, hang on. Like, how do you know about this?
Well, she told me.
So good.
I didn't ask questions about why, but she was just like, I had a nurse, and she just wouldn't stop talking about how good you were, so I really wanted to get in. I was like, oh, that's wonderful.
How good
I
is
don't even know who that was, but that's
like,
lovely.
Who's a nurse? Yeah. Trying to figure that out. That's so awesome.
Yeah, so it's really nice, and it's really sweet in some ways to have, like, you know, we have a husband come through and then a wife.
Yeah.
Or,
that's awesome.
You know, a sister comes through, or it's just really lovely, and you get the little family.
That's awesome.
Too.
And how? Yeah, it's so cool then, because when that couple are surfing together at a later stage, they have like that same foundation.
Yeah.
Which is so cool. Yeah. And would save so many arguments.
I mean, hopefully.
More than what, you know, what happens.
The rest of us
do. Yeah. And something else, like I just had a thought, you know, like we were talking about nervous system beforehand, and how do you regulate your nervous system? Like, what does your kind of self-care practices look like? Because one thing is surfing, but also like teaching people, like that's so full on, like holding space for so many people in such like, keep knocking that, in such a, like holding so much space for people. Like how do you downregulate? How do you?
I have to work really hard at it, to be honest. Yeah. It's I mean, part of the reason that we have such a focus on it in the course is because I have to focus on it so much personally, and I know how much of a difference it makes for me. Yeah, which is why you teach it.
I mean, you practice what you preach. Yeah.
So a lot of it honestly is just not forcing myself to do things that my body is not comfortable to do, because more often than not my problem is that I want to do the thing and my body is tired and it needs rest, and I'm like, oh, but I want to go do the things, and I'm like, I want to go
your brain's like, let's go.
So that's always my biggest fight, is just being like, no, we're actually going to just like, you know, stretch or whatever. But so a lot of my self-care at the moment, especially because I've got a nearly chaotic amount of work at the moment, which is a blessing, but yes, it's different self-care tools.
Totally.
But currently it's all just about, deregulating the nervous system and getting it back into that really calm spot. So it's a lot of baths, a lot of
Oh, how good's a bath? Had one last night and I needed it.
So did I. It was so nice. I was just like, a lot of like stretching, very gentle, like restorative yoga, not even like vinyasa or anything like that's too much at the moment. It's just like
vinyasa is hectic.
It can be. It can be.
Like yoga's stretching or like, and I'm like,
not all of it.
Not all of it. Are you kidding? Yin or nothing, people. Even like a slow flow, I'm like, gotta hold it.
Too many poses.
Too many.
So exactly the same. Yes. Yoga nidra, meditation, some breath work.
What kind of breath work do you?
Depends. Yeah, it depends on how I'm feeling. So like originally when I was a personal trainer, trained yoga teacher, meditation teacher, all that sort of thing as well. And so
I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
And so sometimes it'll just be like different pranayama techniques through yoga, and sometimes it's like I'll go and do some Wim Hof and like listen to his stuff, or another one. Or actually there's a couple of other breathwork practitioners that I've worked with who have recordings that I love their stuff too. So it very much depends on my mood. But
totally. Because you really need to follow your body and what you need.
And gardening. That's the other big one. Just
you've got a nice big I was expecting a big garden and a big playground. Go out and get amongst the playground. For like anyone listening, Becks has a playground in her backyard. It's sick.
We didn't put it there. It was there with the house.
I remember coming over and being like, oh my God, there's a playground. I need to live here. Like, I just want to go and play on that playground. Like I can't think of anything else.
It was the very first thing I did when I moved in, actually, was went down the slide.
In like the inspection or something. Yeah. It's like, whee! Okay, sold. I'll take it. I'll move in.
But yeah, actually half the playground is now a garden as well. I've been growing sweet peas up the side of it. And
epic.
Got little potatoes and parsley growing in what was a sand pit. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Love your work. And what are you growing in the garden at the moment?
Not much because it's winter.
Yeah.
A lot of peas and beans.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of silver beet and like leafy kind of stuff.
Leafy stuff.
And then like broccolis and collies and stuff
so
like that.
Good. Yeah. That's epic. Yeah, we've just been planning like what we want to grow in our garden.
Amazing.
Oh, so exciting. I'm just like just waiting.
I know, that's
just waiting for the weather.
You have to wait for it. Like I'm so ready to plant our next lot out.
Oh yeah.
I just need a little bit more, like a couple more weeks and then we can do it.
A little bit longer. Yeah. I'm so pumped. I can't wait. Yeah. Fun. That's awesome. And so what's coming up with Honu Honi?
So many things.
Yeah.
I say that like it's a sad thing. I mean that in the best possible way.
So many things.
It just feels like a lot at the moment.
Totally.
Yeah. So we've got so in the middle of a 6-week block at the moment, which will be done mid-October, and then we'll have one more 6-week block before the end of the year.
Before we go into what you're doing, maybe we should talk about like the structure of some of like what you do offer.
Of course. Yeah. Yes, rather than just saying things.
Totally.
So the 6-week block that I'm talking about is the 6-week programs where we have people come once a week for their lessons and we do those dinners and things like that.
And you have a lot of different levels.
Yeah. So we have like the levels are split from complete beginners, people who are still beginners but have done a little bit of a dabble before, so they're not getting a complete repeat of what they already know. Then we have intermediates who are surfing like 1 to 2 foot unbroken waves and but kind of maybe not feeling confident in it or still learning how to trim and things like that. And then we have our level 3s, which are advanced. So they get video analysis and and surf sessions and like one-on-one coaching on Zoom and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, which is good fun.
And then weekends as well.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the best seller, but we don't like booking for the 6 week. Don't.
No, come and do the week longs. They're like,
you do a week.
We do a week.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
The intention when we set it up was the week long one would be our like flagship offerings sort of thing. And they've been the ones that actually have been the slowest to take. But I think that's also been because we've been so busy running around doing all the other things that we barely mention that we have them, basically.
Totally.
So
people just aren't aware.
So we have 2-day or then 7-day camps.
7-day camps. Sounds so cool. Yeah.
And so the 2 days like kind of a little taster. It's like a couple of lessons, a yoga class, all your meals, lush glamping accommodation. I don't know if you've seen our glamping.
I have. It looks so good. So good.
They're very cozy and they're very luxe. They've got all heaters in them and plants and they're lovely.
And where are they based?
So we're just based on the Torquay foreshore. So
I thought it was because I remember you put up a video and I was like, is that like the Torquay foreshore? I was like, oh, what a location. How good.
Yeah. So you literally you'd be falling asleep listening to the waves.
Yeah,
and
stunning.
It'd be maybe a 30-second walk from your feet to the waves. So it's so nice. Every time we're there, I'm like, I want to stay.
Yeah. Can I live here?
I want to go home.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the week. Well, not necessarily a weekend. It is popular on weekends, but 2 days.
2 days.
And then the 7-day is like the full experience. So that's like surf lessons, yoga. You get surf theory, like dry surf theory as well.
Yeah.
Still all your meals and all the meals as well. Like we try and grow as much of the veg and stuff as we can. And then the rest is like locally sourced. All of it's plant-based through the whole program.
Yeah.
And then we can do any other like gluten-free or any other food things that anyone needs. And then we also in that week long kind of do all the big touristy stuff as well. It depends a little bit who's with us.
Do you go to the 12 Apostles?
Yes. Yeah.
Just on the 12 Apostles?
Yeah.
I only went for the first time
did you?
In the summer.
Yeah.
So 6 months ago or something, maybe like actually maybe even not that. Anyway, doesn't really matter. And I thought it was just like going to be like you rock up to like a car park, like a surf car park, and then you just like walk out and then there's like the apostles.
Yeah. No, it's a big thing.
Oh my gosh. I was like, I feel like I'm at like the zoo or like at a like bigger than a museum.
Yeah.
I was like, I feel like I'm at an event.
Yeah.
And then you have to like walk.
Yeah.
And I was like, and the amount of people, it was like a Wednesday or something too. And I was like,
why are all these people here?
And I was like, that's like when I was like, oh my gosh, that's why so many people drive down the Great Ocean Road to see this. I was like, this is it. And I was like, I was gobsmacked.
Yeah.
And Trav thought it was the funniest thing because I'm just like, how did I not know that it's like this big of a tourist attraction? Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, when I travel and I go to like all these massive like destinations, this is like Australia's version. Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh. And it was so cool feeling like a tourist in like, I guess my home.
Yeah.
You know? And 100%.
I was like,
so the 12 Apostles and like so beautiful and so impressive.
Yeah. So beautiful. And there's so many like there's gorgeous waterfalls all out through Lawn and all the lookouts and
so spoiled.
Go and do all of that and go and find the koalas at Kennett River.
How cute are they?
Yeah.
And I also shook how many there are.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
So many of them.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. In like the first tree as well. They're like, hello, we know where to hang out. Yeah. We know where we get our food.
Yeah. So we'd go and do all of that sort of stuff.
Cool. So you do that as part of like that 7 day.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Because 7 days of surfing.
It's too much.
It's so
like,
much.
I shouldn't say it's too much. It's not fair, but like
it takes a long time to build up to 7 days surfing.
And I think, that was part of the problem that I had with the surf camp I learnt at and things where it was 5 days of lessons on and then you had your weekends off. But I was just like, I was constantly injured and sick and stuff like that because it's actually really hard work on the body to do that. We structure ours as like 2 days surf, day off, 2 days surf, day off, surf.
Chef's kiss. Yeah. Just nailing it.
It's just, and again, from that personal training background, it's like, you have to build in that recovery time.
Totally.
Otherwise it doesn't work. No. And so that's why like we go and do the 12 Apostles partly because like you said, like it's incredible and there's nowhere else in the world that has the views that we have.
Yeah.
But also it's a forced like we're not surfing today.
Yeah.
We're going to go and do other things and, go swim in the waterfall or like go do whatever it is. But we're giving the body a chance to like recover so that we can actually get you further rather than just like punching it out and trying to surf as much as we can in 7 days.
Because that nervous system is never going to regulate if you're tired and like you can't eat enough to keep up and all of that. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And you're going to get injured and I guess your philosophy about trying to like that pleasure, keeping people out in the water.
Yeah.
It's like that downward.
Yeah.
We want the upward.
We want the upward. Yeah. And the downward one, like it's an easy one to find if you do push it too much. So,
Yeah. Listening to yourself and your body is so important.
Yeah.
Cool. And so what's coming up?
Yeah.
Do you have any exciting things happening? Yeah.
Yes. So we've got week-long camps always.
Yep.
2-day camps always.
Yep.
6-week program block. We've just started one now. So they're week 2 at the moment.
Yep.
And we've got one more for summer, which is always huge.
Yeah.
It's always the biggest one we run every year.
Which is like crazy because winter is usually like, but I guess I get the warmth.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you're learning.
Yeah.
It's
They don't know.
They don't know. But it's how cool that they do your course and then it's like, oh my God, the waves are getting good.
Yeah.
It's like, you feel spoiled and then it's like, okay, now I'll get my 4-3 and my booties and my gloves and my hood. And
it's so funny as well. Like so many people said that you can't run a surf school in Victoria year round and like, but our winter programs are still busy.
Yeah.
Because
people look at the waves and they're like,
so nice.
Glassy, pretty, inviting.
That's the thing. Like I think I was kind of like, I like surfing in the winter. So surely there's other people that are willing to do it.
And I think when you speak to people down here and they just see, you're like,
that's how.
But autumn is such a special time down here.
It is.
Oh,
by far the best.
Oh,
yeah.
I moved down in autumn and a couple of years ago and I was like, oh my Lord, like this, what is this magical place?
Yeah.
Like this is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Awesome.
I think other than that, we've got the other big one that's coming up at the moment. We're running a gala ball for Surf Aid, which is a not for profit.
That's awesome.
And they go and do work in communities, in remote communities in Indonesia and the Solomon Islands.
So cool.
Kind of bringing in basic sanitation, healthcare, food systems for them, that sort of thing. So yeah,
that's awesome.
It's so awesome. A gala ball is a lot to plan, as it turns out. On top of running a business, I was so excited, and also like, I've signed myself on for a bit of work.
Totally.
But that's in about 3 weeks' time, so we're really excited for that. Excited to get dressed up as well. Like all the social things we do, you know, it's all about being at the beach and relaxed, or like go to the pub or do trivia night or whatever it is. So it's really exciting to have one where it's like, no, I'm going to like actually
get dressed up. Totally. Because it's like, especially like down here and around like surf towns. Yeah. People don't get dressed up.
No, you're lucky if they wear shoes to the pub.
Oh yeah, totally. So yeah, that's going to be so cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then they can buy tickets through your website.
Yes. So actually no.
Oh no, don't go to the website.
They're on the home screen at the moment. There is a link to it. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
So they can find it through the website.
They can find it through the website. Yeah. We've got the tickets going through Humanitics so that the fees and stuff go back to good causes too. It's all about all the good causes.
Good thing. Bex, you're just a good cause, hey. And so what are your channels? Like where can people, like what's your website, Insta?
So people can find us. Our website's honuhoni.com. So it's HONUHONI.com. Yeah.
Can you spell that? Yeah.
And then Insta is at Honu Honi Surf Camp. Facebook is at Honu Honi.
Cool.
And then we've got a YouTube channel as well.
Oh, awesome.
And yeah, there's some fun videos up there on how to stay warm if you're surfing in winter, among a couple of other things.
Did I see that you have one on like reading water and stuff as well, reading waves?
Yeah, we've got a free download up at the moment on reading the forecast and the beach conditions.
Major.
Yeah.
Major.
It's just such
anyone learning that is a Bible.
Yeah.
That's everything.
Well, that's the thing. Like it's kind of such essential knowledge, even for things like walking your dog along the beach and understanding the tide.
100%. When I go to like White's Beach and it's high tide, day's ruined. And I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like you have to like time it and run through certain bits so that you don't get, oh my gosh, yeah.
Yes.
And wind. Yeah.
And wind, yeah. So, and that's the thing. Like it's, any time spent on the beach, it's actually quite helpful to know. So but especially if you're going to be in the waves for swimming or surfing or anything. So we thought that would be a good one to just have available for free for anyone who has the time, because it's quite long. It's like 45 minutes. I'm always impressed when people watch them, but I'm like,
oh yeah,
it's that
stuff's gold.
It's detailed. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't expect anything else from you.
I don't know. I get in trouble sometimes. Our marketing crew, they're a bit like, you can do like short, sharp to keep people's attention. And I'm just like, that was as short and sharp as I could keep it. I want them to have all the information.
Just put a reel from it afterwards up. Just hook them in and then you got them.
They'll be fine.
Totally. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. It was so fun.
Hello. If you are watching this, it means you've made it to the end of the podcast, and I'm so blessed that you've chosen to spend the time here with us at Extremely Well. If you liked what you saw here today, and I'm hoping you did if you're here at the end, can you please hit that subscribe button, hit the follow, leave a review, tell us what you liked, what you didn't like. This is all for you. So we want to make sure that we are serving the community in the best way that we can. If you want to connect with us through our other channels, I'll leave them down below in the description box, and I can't wait to connect with you next time.